Well, hopefully summer hasn't dried you up and blown you away. It's time for another Rogers Capital Market Commentary, where we attempt to be the antidote to water cooler wisdom. Well, July saw an astonishing 9% rebound, which puts us at a down 12% year-to-date performance for the S&P 500. Last month, we looked at bear markets, and with 11 modern era bear markets, 4 with milder, at least in severity and duration, very different from the 7 pretty harsh out of those 11 bear markets. We took a little bit of an in-depth look, a study into what the difference was, and we noticed the differentiator being with or without a recession. A bear market, 20% plus drop. With a recession or without a recession. Those with a recession seeing quite a bit more of a drop and longer duration. In fact, last month's video, if you wanted to revisit that, maybe a good exercise. The big news, of course, last week, recession. Now, in the 24 plus years I've been doing this, we've seen a handful of these bear markets and recessions. That's what does this right here, these gray hairs in here, recessions, bear markets, and teenagers too, by the way, add to that. In the decades that we've seen, the classical definition of recession, 2 negative quarters of GDP. Well, technically, that's what we have now, 2 negative quarters. Ergo, the classical definition, now in recession. Now, before any of this tap dancing and word splicing that we've seen here recently as to whether this is really a recession or not, we a month ago walked through a little different approach, the National Bureau of Economic Research, what many investors, Wall Streeters, look at maybe a little bit more than the classical definition. But the National Bureau of Economic Research, taking a little bit more in-depth view, looking at it monthly, looking at multiple factors instead of just a quarterly glance at solely GDP. The NBER has not called this a recession as of yet. Now, looking at jobs, retail sales, transportation, consumer spending, the health of the consumer, the health of corporations, commodities, inflation, the Fed raising interest rates, their response to inflation, housing, consumer confidence. We see very mixed signals on the severity of this economic situation. For example, jobs up recently, last week, a strong jobs report. But when you get into the details, dig a little deeper, you see we're losing full-time jobs and adding part-time jobs, which is obviously not really what we're looking for. Consumer spending has been steady. But again, you get into the details and you see that a lot of that's been funded with credit card debt. We're blowing through the pandemic savings that we kind of stored up, and in order to keep pace with inflation and just living life, credit card debt is surging. Corporations have been resilient, but dig a little deeper and rising interest rates, rising cost of materials, waning profits, and actually just here a day or two ago, kind of a startling reduction in capital spending. Raise eyebrows. Housing. I'm not sure most of us really understand the driver that housing is to our economy. And especially maybe here in Texas, because of the population surge and folks coming here, maybe it's a little bit deceptive, but rising interest rates has really put a dent in new homes and even the sale of existing homes. So why was the market up 9% last month? You're sitting there saying, where was the good news? I missed the sunshine, Corey. Where was it? Well, the good news was that commodity prices have fallen substantially. Oil and gas down. The other commodity prices showing some return back to at least the direction we're hoping for. The Fed meeting here recently signaled that they may be able to take a little softer approach to rising interest rates. The appearance, at least the hope, of maybe a milder recession. I think another thing was the bipartisan Chips for America Act, which has provided incentives for U.S. semiconductor manufacturing and supply chain security, which may prove very wise given the drama, we have going on over Taiwan. Now, again, historically, the best time to buy stocks is 3 to 6 months after the National Bureau of Economic Research has declared a recession, which has not happened yet. So time will tell on that end. It's going to be interesting to see the impact of the Inflation Reduction Act, whether another $700 billion of spending and raising taxes on middle-income families, small business owners, corporations is the smartest thing to do in the midst of runaway inflation and economic recession. Along with healthcare policy measures and climate investments, the tax legislation portion of this is of particular interest to me. 15% corporate minimum tax, a 1% tax on stock buybacks, 80,000+ new IRS agents. The Joint Committee on Taxation reports that up to 90% of the tax hike revenue expected from this new act will come from audits on households under 200,000. So middle income, middle America. How will those things impact the overall consumer, corporations? Be something to see. Well, enjoy the rest of your summer. What's left of it. School starting is around the corner. We'll talk to you next time.